Recently, I hosted a competition to see who in my community could build the best Minecraft TARDIS interior, and over the course of a week, over 200 people ended up claiming a spot on the server, leaving us with over 150 finished builds, some of which were absolutely incredible. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down how the contest went, showing you the top 3 builds from each theme, and also giving every single person who participated their scores. That's right, we managed to organise everybody's scores, so make sure to stick around until the end to see how you got on. If you end up enjoying this video, then please consider subscribing so that we can do more stuff like this. I know loads of YouTubers say this, but the number of you guys who aren't subscribed is absolutely huge, so if just some of you subscribed, then we'd get to 10k in no time. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's begin the story of my second TARDIS building competition. I hosted the contest over a total of 9 days, from Friday the 5th to Saturday the 13th of July. It was originally going to be Friday to Friday, but, well, we'll get to that. The server was open to both Java and Bedrock Edition players on the latest version of Minecraft, and was split into 4 distinct build styles: steampunk, futuristic, rustic, and organic, each one full of 48 by 48 block plots. As soon as the server opened on day 1, people started flooding in. So as soon as I do this, you should all be able to join. There we go. Because there will be a lot of people trying to join all at the same time. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was chaos. Somehow the server actually coped, for now, and interiors started popping up like crazy. By the end of day 1, there were a lot of promising builds, which me and the other 2 judges would continue to keep an eye on for the rest of the week, as people were just getting started. Look, we don't talk about days 2 and 3. Basically, for the second and third days of the contest, we experienced some issues. It turns out we were running an outdated version of paper, which meant our custom plugin kind of broke, leading to lots of corruption across the server, meaning, you guessed it, people lost parts of their builds. Some people made it through both days unscathed, while some had minor issues, and some people just got really unlucky. Thankfully though, we managed to sort out the problem by the end of day 3, so massive shout out to ConquerHost, our server provider, for their help during this time. More on them later in the video. Due to these issues, we extended the deadline for the contest to Saturday at midday, as opposed to Friday evening, giving people a bit of extra time to build. However, that still didn't end up being enough, with some people cutting it very fine, which you'll see in just a moment. For the rest of the week, the contest continued without any issues, with people starting to finish off as we headed towards the weekend. Because we left the server up 24/7, people from any time zone were able to join, making it consistently pretty busy. And before we knew it, day 9 had arrived, the final day of the server. The world now looked completely different to the end of day 1, with most builds already being finished. By this point, me and the judges knew we'd have a massive task on our hands judging all of these interiors, which is why this video has taken so long to come out, so thank you all for being so patient. We could forget about that for the time being though, as with the final moments of the server drawing closer and closer, it was time to celebrate. 3, 2, 1... Oh, whoa! Whoa, this is so cool. Yeah. Oh, this is so cool. Look at the beacons. Yeah. Oh, this is awesome. Woo. And with that, the contest was over. Thank you so much to everyone who took part, and I'm glad you all enjoyed it. So, with 9 days condensed to just a few minutes, it's time to reveal the top 3 builds from each theme, including each of the winning interiors, all of which will be added to the Adventures in Time mod. I'll be covering all of the 3rd place builds, then all of the 2nd place, finishing off with the winners for all 4 of the styles. If you're watching the premiere live, the spreadsheet containing everybody's scores will be put in the description at the end, so make sure to stick around. Or if you're watching in the future, then feel free to take a look now. Please bear in mind that we had a lot of submissions, with some absolutely insane builds in every category, so in order to fairly judge the interiors, we had to be pretty harsh with our scores. Just because you got a low score does not mean you aren't a good builder, it just means that there was a lot of tough competition. If I'm being honest, if I'd participated in this contest myself, I would have been lucky to make the top 10 in any of the themes, so don't worry about it too much. Just use it as some constructive criticism for you to use to improve your skills going forward. So with that in mind, let's skip right to the top, starting with the third place interiors from each theme. We'll start with Steampunk, and in third place is Ghost Bordy with a score of 22 out of 30. We were really impressed with this build. It has a lot of detail, but it does extremely well to still feel deliberate, almost feeling like it's become cluttered from frequent use over time. Definitely a good decision to keep it on the smaller side, and a good use of the space effect for the ceiling too, which isn't the last time we'll be seeing that effect. Third place for Futuristic is Sirom 12, with a respectable 20 out of 30. The rib pattern on the walls of this one is really interesting, with a fantastic palette and some cool details, such as the med bay under the central console. The space effect wasn't quite as effective here in our opinions, but a great build nevertheless. Heading over to Rustic, we've got Rug at 23 out of 30, the joint highest third place score out of all the categories. Rustic was actually the closest category by far, with almost nothing separating the top three, but more on that later. This build is amazing, leaning into the Gothic subsection of Rustic, with a great palette and some awesome texture work. We weren't too sold on the roof, but other than that, a really clean looking interior. Finally, we've got Organic, and in third, we've got Turbo Tickles with another 23 out of 30. This build is incredibly unique, not just for its category, but in general, and has this really cool underwater grand garden type of feel. There isn't a lot of detail in this interior, but it simply doesn't need it. The unique shape and wall design makes for a beautiful looking build overall. We've got a lot of builds to get through, so we're moving swiftly on to the second place builds, each of which will be getting added to the official Adventures in Time public server as part of a data pack. In second for Steampunk, we have Arleon 1012 with a score of 23 out of 30, just one above third place, which is a theme that's going to continue throughout. This interior is massive, with some fantastic texture work on the walls and some amazing detail spread throughout. To me, it really feels like a classic red brick factory that's almost been improved over time, adding more and more elements like the pipes and the clock. The central console is also really cool, extremely big, but it fits in great. It missed out on a higher score as there wasn't a lot of variation in colour and tones, and the space effect at the bottom didn't feel that necessary, but still a beautiful looking interior. For Futuristic, in second we have Pop Culture Man, with 21 out of 30, again just one higher than Sirom's third place entry. What's really cool about Futuristic is all of the top builds look really different from each other, almost in entirely different styles, which you'll see when we get to first in a moment. What really impressed us about this build was the ability to take quite a simple concept of a classic style interior and detail it really nicely to fill the space. It definitely gave us Rani vibes. It's also got some really cool corridor designs, which stretch all the way around the main console room, leading to some interesting extra rooms. Overall, a fantastic build. As I mentioned, Rustic was extremely close, and in second we have the letter O, with an impressive 25 out of 30, also the highest second place score in the contest. This interior is incredible, really focusing on that Victorian style, somewhat similar to the McGann interior. It also has a great choice of blocks and colours throughout, with the walls feeling consistently varied. The detail also feels deliberate as opposed to scattered, and the space effect does actually work here very nicely. A great under console section too, although the time rotor and console feels a tad basic in comparison to the rest of the interior. Another amazing build nonetheless. Last but definitely not least, we have Organic, and second placed here was from Daleks_3 with a score of 24 out of 30. Me and the other judges really liked this one, especially the use of colour. The tree that emerges from the console and spreads around the room has these beautiful orange leaves made of red sandstone, which somehow manages to not clash against the red of the console and console platform. We weren't huge fans of the fences, and I'm not too sure on the rotor itself either, but the fact that it's floating in the void is actually really effective here. Great texture work on the entrance and walkways too, plus a cool galaxy effect for what I assume is the monitor. And that's it for the second place builds. Just before we get to the winners, I want to quickly talk to you about ConquerHost. But wait, don't skip ahead. This is less of a sponsor segment and more of a genuine thank you. If you didn't already know, ConquerHost are a really competitively priced, reliable server hosting company that I've been using for years now. In fact, they actually provided the server for the original TARDIS competition way back in 2022, which just so happens to be the very same server that I hosted this second contest on. But not only were they kind enough to once again allow me to use the server completely for free, but I was put on one of their best plans, meaning it had absolutely no trouble coping with over 100 players joining on day one. What really stuck out to me though while the contest was running was how helpful they were when we had issues with our plugin on days 2 and 3. The corruption was nothing to do with them, and yet they worked on a fix around the clock over those 48 hours, and were one of the main reasons we were able to get up and running again so quickly. So yeah, it goes without saying that I couldn't recommend them enough, and frankly I'd probably be doing this thank you even if they hadn't given me the server for free. So with that in mind, I'd highly recommend checking them out for yourself. They have plenty of different plans available, plus if you purchase a server before the 15th of September, you can take advantage of the back to school sale, giving you massive discounts across all their servers. So make sure to get in there quick using the link in the description. Anyway, thank you so much to ConquerHost for providing the server for this event, and for being so helpful throughout. And let's finally take a look at the first place entries. So here we go. This is where the builds get absolutely insane. For the winners, we're starting off with the highest score of the entire competition in Steampunk, with the Wheezy Knight achieving a maximum score of 30 out of 30, the only build to do so, and for good reason. This interior is, well, pretty much perfect, receiving a 10 from all 3 judges. There's so much to talk about here that I won't be able to cover it all, but one of the things that amazed us most was how, despite its immense size, it manages to feel really well thought out and deliberate, extremely lived in and almost homely, which is all down to the incredible detail work. I particularly love the corner that feels like you're inside of a clock tower, just a beautiful detail. The use of colour is also incredible, but the thing I love most about this interior is the massive cog on the ceiling. It's just so intricate and really makes the TARDIS feel alive, as if the movement of this cog is fueling the console. Speaking of the console, the time rotor was actually the only bit we weren't too keen on, but not nearly enough to make it drop a point. Amazing job by Wheezy Knight, and fully deserving of a place in Adventures in Time. First place in Futuristic goes to iMaroon with a brilliant 25 out of 30. This build really stood out to us amongst the rest, a really different take on the futuristic category based on the Tron colour palette. I personally really like the contrast of orange and blue, even if it is a little in your face, but the utilisation of different textures and shades of both colours with copper trapdoors, red sandstone versus prismarine walls, etc. really helps to tie it all together. The texture work all round, even down to the black walls, is fantastic, and even makes a traditionally quite ugly block, sorry Nether Brick, look really good. It's got a great under console too, and the console itself really helps to tie it all together. I should mention at this point that we aren't actually done with Futuristic. In fact, there are 2 honourable mentions from this category alone, so make sure you stick around until the end to see them. Anyway, it's time to move on to Rustic. The winning build in Rustic, once again by just a single point, is from Para, with a score of 26 out of 30. This build is a perfect example of bigger not always being better. Oh god, why did I write that? Bigger TARDIS interiors not always being better, especially when they are detailed correctly, and this is just an absolute masterclass in that. It doesn't stun you with its immense size and scale as soon as you walk in, but if you take a second to immerse yourself in it, you begin to notice the incredible attention to detail all around the build. For starters, the palette is amazing. The combination of jungle and weathered copper contrasts beautifully against the cyan, and the overall shape of the build is great too. It's slightly asymmetrical as opposed to just being a boring circle with a console in the middle. The under console is once again brilliant, and it also has some really cool redstone. We only included redstone in our scoring if we felt it added to and enhanced the build, without feeling like it consumes the build or takes away from it. And this is yet another masterclass in doing exactly that. An incredible build overall, and one of my absolute favourites from this contest, although there's also an honourable mention in Rustic, which we'll see in not too long. And the final winning build from the organic theme is from Punkstar with 27 out of 30. This interior is just so cool, and the best bit for me has to be the skull. I mean, you literally enter through its mouth, and the eyes have really nicely detailed rooms hidden behind them. Just such a cool concept. It's not just the skull though, everywhere you look in this build, you end up coming across an interesting detail. The mushrooms really pop against the moss and stone palette for the walls, which are incredibly natural and make you feel like you've found some sort of hidden cavern. Everything is accessible too via copper ladders, which further leans into the idea that people have sort of made a bit of a community inside this area. It does a great job of feeling very heavily detailed without feeling cluttered or messy, and the console platform being a bit of a journey away from the entrance forces you to properly explore the interior, which is a fantastic idea. The one thing we weren't too convinced on was the golden pickaxe detail, but you can't deny it's a great recreation of the in-game sprite. There's so much to say about this build, as there is with all of the winning entries, so to experience it all, you'll just have to download the World Download, which is in the description, or of course play the Adventures of Time mod. Modified versions of these 4 first place interiors will be added to the mod in a mini update that is right around the corner, so to keep updated on that, make sure to join the AIT Discord server. We aren't done quite yet though, as there's also a few honourable mentions to get through. Firstly, we'd like to say one big honourable mention to every single build that was affected by server purges on days 2 and 3. While some people only lost a few bits of their build, some people lost massive amounts of them. So to everyone that came back on the server and not just repaired their build, but actually improved it and made it much better than it was before the reset, you absolutely deserve an honourable mention. We didn't factor that into our scoring because we didn't want to unfairly affect people that weren't affected by the server purge, but just know that we know who you all are and your efforts are massively respected and appreciated. And then there's also 3 specific honourable mentions that I'd like to take a look at, and the first 2 come from the futuristic category. First up, we've got the Red Gamer. So the build itself got a score of 14 out of 30. However, what's really special about this build is the redstone. If you head underneath, it is just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, Red Gamer in the last competition was also known for his redstone, and once again has not disappointed. There's some really cool stuff under here, such as a custom music player, custom dematerialization and rematerialization, and yeah, a lot more which you'll just have to take a look at yourself. But obviously we couldn't include that in the judging because it's unfair on those who aren't as skilled in redstone, and it was a building contest at the end of the day. But yeah, your efforts have not been ignored. Absolutely fantastic job with that. And also in Futuristic, we'd like to give an honourable mention to Minor Wans, who actually got a score of 24 out of 30, which if you were paying attention would have been enough to put it in second place for this category. However, the reason we haven't done that is quite simple, and it's something that you'll see again in just a minute, and that is the fact that it's just not finished. I mean, this build is absolutely insane. The detail work and everything is just brilliant, so we absolutely had to include it in the video somehow. But in the state it's currently in, considering there were 9 days to build it on the server, it's just not fair to pitch it against other interiors that are in their absolutely completed states. There's a lot of temporary blocks and stuff around the place, and it's just not really enough for us to include in the actual rankings. But yeah, an absolutely insane build, and I would love to see it finished. So Minor Wans, if you are thinking of finishing it, please make sure to post a picture in the Discord server. I would absolutely absolutely love to see what you come up with. Heading into Rustic, we're carrying on the trend of unfinished builds, and we've got a build from Hey37, which also got a score of 24 out of 30, which would be enough to put it in joint second place. But once again, it just doesn't seem finished. Of course, the scores that we gave were purely based on what was in front of us, as opposed to what could have been. So obviously, to get 24 out of 30 on a build that we didn't even think looked finished is insanely impressive. But yeah, it just lacked any sort of upper area, any sort of roof design or anything, so we didn't feel that it was fair to pitch it against the other builds. Nevertheless, it's an absolutely incredible build with a lot of potential, and I would love to see it in its finished state in my Discord server. Finally, I'd also like to give a quick shout out to Dice Line 11's team and their build. It's not really a proper honourable mention, but Dice actually sent me some concept art that his team had designed just for this build, which I thought was super cool, so I had to include it in the video as well. Anyway, with that, we're finally done. Massive congratulations to all of the top entries and honourable mentions. If you didn't make it in, please don't worry, as you'll still be able to take a look at your score in the big spreadsheet that I mentioned earlier. If you're watching in the future, then that will already be in the description, or if you're watching live, then the link will be posted in the Premiere chat shortly. Please just bear in mind before you take a look that we haven't given proper worded feedback to everybody, and your score may be lower than you were hoping for or expecting, and that's simply just because there were so many incredible builds. We originally weren't going to give you guys scores at all, so consider it a bit of a luxury. It goes without saying that any hostility towards judges or other participants will not be tolerated in any way, so please be respectful. So that's it for this time. Massive shout out to everyone involved in the creation and maintenance of this event, including the judges, Discord staff, Minecraft server staff, Jason for his amazing work with the custom plugin, Lettero and Red Gamer for their help collecting footage for this video, Lecure for offering the amazing Adventures in Time prize, and finally to you lot for participating. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, then please do consider subscribing. Between the contest itself and the 3 videos and 2 streams I ended up doing on it, this has taken up literal months of my life, so your support would be greatly appreciated. Anyway, I've been DT10, and I might see you in the next video.